Okay, so maybe we can't actually go on vacation, but that doesn't mean we can't explore new places to discover. So come with me as I journey across all 7 continents and read the best literature these countries have to offer. Come join me as we go around the world in 325 days. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cozy Corner. My name is Lee and this is my library. So grab a mug of something yummy and settle in for some talk of books. I overfilled this mug, so I'm not going to be able to use my hands a lot. Today we are back with the second installment of the Around the World in 325 Days Asia Edition Reading Challenge. We did the first part of the 19 countries that we're going to be visiting with this challenge, and today we are doing the remaining 9, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yep. We did 10 last time, we're doing 9 this time. We have some exceptional authors and titles and literature. I am really excited to introduce them to you all. So without further ado, let's meet the countries we're traveling to. First up, we are going to Saudi Arabia with The Girls of Riyadh by Raja Al Sanaya. This cover is gorgeous. A beautiful red. I love the laminate of the design of the buildings. Oh, it just looks so beautiful. I love the review on the back of this. It says, "Imagine Sex in the City if the city in question were Riyadh." So this follows the single scene in Saudi Arabia, which I'm not Saudi, but I am on the single scene. But it follows 4 girls, Gamra, Michelle, Sadim, and Lamis, as they try to negotiate their love lives, their professional successes, and ultimately find their place between the influence of Western society and the traditional aspects of their lives in Saudi Arabia. It's short. I think it's only 200 some pages. Yeah, 270-ish pages. So this one I think I'm gonna fly through. I'm really excited because a lot of these books are really short. Because I got some chonkers that I'm trying to get through this year. So this one sounds really exceptional. It sounds really fast and kind of spicy, and I like it. Next, we are going to Indonesia with, this title is covered. This Earth of Mankind by, this is a name that I don't know how to pronounce, Pramodia Anantatower. That is probably not correct. That's the author's name. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your names. This is a well-worn book, but this follows the story of, I think you say Minka is his name, and he is a young Javanese student who is living in the colonized area of Indonesia in the late 19th century, and I think he is the son of a Japanese man, but that area of the world is obviously colonized by the Dutch. They were very heavy-handed in their influence in that area. And he is a smart guy who loves the Dutch culture and he loves the area where he lives, but and he can like mingle with those people, but he is obviously prevented from fully incorporating himself into that culture because of who he is. There is a lot of brutality and anger, but it's all about Minka and his struggle to embrace who he is, but also embrace where he lives and his culture and his people. Next, we are going to Turkey with Snow by Orhan Pamuk. I am so excited for this book. This book has been mentioned to me in passing so many times. It has been on my actual TBR for a long time, and I'm so glad that it was part of this reading challenge. This follows the story of an exiled poet named Ka, who is called back to his hometown to report and investigate on some suicides of girls who are refusing to wear headscarves. And while he is there, he is also drawn to Ipek, I think is how you pronounce her name, who is this beautiful girl that I'm assuming he probably knew previously from his time there, who is now recently divorced. And so as Ka explores and investigates these suicides, there are some very high tension things that happened. He is pursued by Ipek's ex-husband and a charismatic terrorist. There are some farce comedy elements in here mixed with the tragedy of what's happening in this situation. It sounds like a very good sort of dark humor type of story. And so I'm really excited. It has been something that has received a lot of great reviews from the people who have told me about it, and I can't wait to check it off the list. Again, I'm reading so many Nobel Pulitzer Prize winners, and this is a winner of the Nobel Prize for Literature, so Someone thought it was good. Next, we are going to Iran with Rooftops of Tehran by Mabod Saraji. This is another one that sounds really interesting to me. So this takes place with a lot of the sort of despot ruling in Persian culture. So there are leaders who rule the land with police forces. And so there is a secret police in this story, and the main character, whose name is Pasha, he's 17 years old and he lives in the capital city, and over the course of one summer, he bonds really well with his friend Ahmed and falls in love with his neighbor Zari. And even though Zari, I think, is betrothed to someone else, yeah, since birth to another person, he still develops a really deep bond with her. But then something happens where Pasha gets involved with the secret police, and Zari is forced to make a choice for her safety, and it's sort of the fallout of dealing with what happens in that situation while still remembering the really close summer they had together. Ooh, I love a good slice of life with a high tension situation, so I'm excited to see where this one goes. Next, we're going to South Korea with Please Look After Mom by Kyung-Suk Shin, and this is a Man Asian Literary Prize finalist. So many award-winning books. Look at this cover. Are those colors not stunning? Oh, it's so beautiful. I could just look at this cover for ages. I think this one is going to be a little bit of a thriller and a mystery, and sort of combining with that with a slice of life, because this follows a 69-year-old Sonyo, I think is how you say her name, who in the middle of this crowded subway station in Seoul, she is separated from her husband, and so their family must begin a search for her to find her. And as they do, they realize that how well did they actually know the person they called mom? And so there are secrets that about her that they are gonna be forced to deal with, and I think it will be an interesting look into that culture, but also a really cool thrilling mystery about what happened to Sonyo, and then the problems that that family has to deal with. I think this also is a multiple perspective book, which I'm really excited. I haven't read a multi-perspective book in a long time. It's been a minute. Actually, I think, was it Serpent and Dove? I think Serpent and Dove was the last multiple perspective book I read. That was first person limited instead of, third party omniscient. And so I'm really excited. I think it tells the story from the dad and the daughter and the son. Oh, maybe the mom too. But anyway, it sounds really interesting. Next, we are going to Thailand with The Bridge Over River... The Bridge Over the River Kwai by Pierre oh no, I gotta get my French out there. Pierre Bouya? Forgive me. I'm trying to take French on Duolingo. Some of it is not translating. So this story takes place in World War II in Thailand, but the Japanese army is needing a train route going north from Burma, which is now Myanmar. And so they use prisoners of war to help get this accomplished. And Captain, or is he a colonel? He's colonel. Colonel Nicholson is the main character of the story. And he is one of the lone survivors of his group, and has a very strong sense of perfectionist pride. And so he is tasked with building this bridge. And he is sort of plays off of his enemy, which is Colonel Saito, who is part of the, I think, Japanese army. But because of his pride and perfectionism, Nicholson will aid his enemy in building this bridge, but he is forced to come to terms with that of, do I sacrifice my pride to aid the allies who are trying to destroy this bridge, or do I give in to my pride and help my enemy accomplish their goal? Again, this is really short. This is only 205 pages, I think. Oh, sorry, 207. But it is a little bit of a suspense story. There's a lot of action in here. And yeah, it is a film. Okay, yeah. Literally, it says it right there. Use your eyes, Lee. A lot of this has to do with war violence, which is something I'm not a huge fan of, but it is a very interesting story about a huge pivotal moment in World War II, and so I'm really excited to read. Next, we're going to the Philippines with When Elephants Dance by Tess Iriza Holthe. It sounds really good. This also takes place in World War II with the Japanese and the US forces battling over the rights to the Philippines. And this family, the Karangalan family, um, has to hide it with their neighbors in a crowded cellar to save themselves. And in the midst of that, dark stories are told about the supernatural, the rich and little known history of the Philippines, Catholicism, Spanish colonization, and the sort of mix of the Spanish mestizo and Filipino cultures. And then there is also a story that weaves in between all of those stories told by the villagers in that cellar, a story about a boy and a girl and a guerrilla fighter who are battling the forces above ground of what's happening in the war. So it sounds a little Anne Frank-ish, and I think that's going to be really interesting to hear the history of the Philippines and to learn a little bit more about the Spanish colonization of them and their history. And I love that there's a supernatural element in here in terms of you know, the things that go bump in the night in the Philippines, and their beliefs about them. So this is based on her father's stories. I think the author's father's, firsthand accounts of what happened. And so brings a magical and terrifying life of story and hope and courage needed to survive in wartime. So I think that's really cool. I love an underground element of wartime, of the things that give people hope in the midst of darkness. So this sounds really good. Next, we are going to Vietnam with The Quiet American by Graham Greene. So many of these are Penguin classics now that or excuse me, I think that's Puffin. Oh no, it is Penguin, yeah. Penguin classics. This is the Centennial edition, which is cool. It was published in 1904. This is the 2004 anniversary edition. I love the pencil drawings on the cover, pretty. So this plays off of two characters, Pyle and Fowler. Pyle is sent from Washington to investigate the happenings with the French army, who are trying to get rid of or to calm down the Vietnamese guerrillas that are terrorizing the area. And so he is sent to go out and investigate, but he meets a British reporter whose name is Fowler. And Fowler is also intervening in this conflict, but why Fowler is intervening is a little suspect. And so there begins to be some tension between the two, particularly because Pyle has stolen Fowler's mistress. So it sounds very interesting. They're supposed to be observers, but their reasons for intervening are suspect, and not only to the police, but to one another. And a lot of this, I think, has to do with innocence and imagined innocence. I'm just noticing now on this picture, he looks so placid and calm and peaceful, and then down here at the bottom, there are blood spatters on his pant legs. So it sounds very interesting and a little intriguing, and there's probably a mystery and a murder in there somewhere. Granted, it is warfare. This is less than 200 pages. This is only 180 pages. So I think this one is going to go really quickly too, and I'm excited that it's short because I think it takes a lot to have a good, short, punchy story, and some of them aren't pulled off well, but I think this one is going to be really good. Plus there's a foreword in here about the author, and I would love to know more about him. So I think this one's going to be really interesting. And the last place we will be traveling to is Iraq with The Yellow Birds by Kevin Powers. Look, I learned how to put a photo on the screen. We did it. This book I will be checking out from my library, so I have the book summary here up on my computer. This follows the story of Bartle, who's an army private, with his friend Murph, who is also an army private, and the vow that Bartle makes to Murph's mom to keep him safe. And they make a pact together, Bartle and Murph, to be not to be the 1,000th deaths that happened in the Gulf War. And a lot of it deals with the horrors of war and the PTSD and shell shock that come from being back home and facing the normalcy of life compared to what happened in the battlefield. Some of the themes in this book have to do with control and the lack of control that these soldiers have over what they're asked to do and the things they experience in war. But a lot of it has to do with the separation between the American public and the soldiers deployed to the Iraq War and their families, and looking back over how much we were involved in previous wars, and how much less we were involved in this war, and the tensions that run between that controversy. And then of course it faces a lot of the issues that Bartle has with when being thanked for his service. He feels that it is disingenuous, because he is being thanked for something that he considers to be immoral. And so there's so much emotional and mental conflict that comes with this book. This also has been made into a movie, I believe, so I'm interested to watch that one and The Bridge Over the River Kwai to see their adaptations. So a lot of these books are based on, unfortunately, warfare and wartime and persecution, but it's part of history, and it is important to learn and to read and to understand and experience these stories, particularly when it relates to American influence in those countries, whether it's good or bad. And I'm really excited for this educational opportunity. I think there's a reason why there are 19 books in the Asian continent, mostly because there's more countries than people realize in Asia, but also because it is a huge part of the world. It's a powerhouse, and learning its intricate histories in those different countries is really fascinating and something I've always wanted to do. I had the pleasure of traveling to Taiwan my senior year of college, and that was incredible. I loved every minute of being there, and it was so beautiful to see how vibrant the culture was, but also to hear their honest struggle of their own dealings with colonization, but also being under the thumb of the Chinese, and, you know, learning how to be independent with their religious freedom while still being under the control of a communist government. And watching the Olympics, and some of the news reporters were talking about how Taiwan, they're not recognized as their own country for athletes. They're still part of the Republic of China. Anyway, I have a lot of fascination and appreciation for the beautiful array of culture in the Asian continent, and so I'm really excited, as I've said many times, to learn more about them and to hear about their stories. So that concludes the Asian part of this challenge. Let me know, have you read any of these books? Have you seen any of the movies? I would love to know your thoughts about them and these authors. We've got some great literature coming for the rest of the year, and I'm really excited about it. So if you like any of these books, if you like this challenge, go ahead and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel. It really does help me out, and let me know what you guys want to see. And as always, a huge thank you to the friends and family who have readily supported me along this journey. It truly means the world to me, and I can't wait to see what's on the next page. Cheers.